By the way, pay attention to my part in this video. This coincides with the trivia contest in a little bit. The Who Dat contest returns tonight for prizes.
Shit. I have to drop it out bunny in this motherfucker. Somebody got a newspaper? Oh, shit. Shit. Oh, God dang. We're like our bunny in the toilet today. Toilet. Bedroom.
Anthony, how you doing?
All right.
I was just washing my hands.
Okay.
He's going to the bathroom.
And he's taping you washing your hands?
Well, we got a fan here.
What's going on?
Actually, we thought that you were coming here. How are you doing?
Not bad. I'm fine.
Not bad, you're good?
Yeah, my head hurts a little bit. I'm fine.
So I just want to know what I guess the situation, like I said, we kind of knew where you were headed. What's going to be the situation with Low Life Louie tonight?
What situation? There was no situation.
So you're not scared then about anything that he might do? Or, you know he's going to be in the building tonight?
I'm scared of what Louie's going to do? Excuse me for a minute.
I know there's a bathroom.
Listen, I know this is rated PG. Scared of Louie? Shut up. Okay. Shut up. Scared of Louie? Scared of Louie? Let me show you something. See this over here? See that?
Oh, Jesus.
You see this? That's a broken hip, broken pelvis, and dislocated hip 8 years ago, courtesy of a car accident in Forest Park. Okay? Scared of Low Life Louie? See this? There's another car accident. Shattered both sides of my ankle, got permanent damage on my leg. Not even supposed to walk right now. Okay? Even this. Fell off my bicycle 8 years old. Now I'm gonna be afraid of Low Life Louie Ramos? Fucking joke. Jesus. By the way, next time you do a promo in here, please spray something with air freshener. It smells like something fucking died in there. Don't step on my glasses. Not good.
This is a bathroom. I guess he's not scared.
Hello, Life Louie.
Every Thursday night, you ask the questions, DT gives you his answers. No holds barred.
It's Q&A with Don Tony. This is your chance to speak your mind and be heard about anything.
Q&A with Don Tony. And now, your host, Don Tony. Don Tony. Don Tony. Don Tony.
Hey, good evening, everybody. How you doing tonight? Welcome to Q&A, whatever goes tonight. Contest in a few minutes. I am Don Tony. I want to thank you for tuning in. You have to forgive me for tonight. For the last 4 or 5 hours, I've been dealing with a pretty good migraine. I don't know if any of you out there ever experience migraines. I don't get them too often, but I start sweating really, really bad. I feel cold. I get very thirsty. And it was crazy for the last couple of hours because today was the day that I was going to reserve the disc jockey for my wedding, reserve the photographer, reserve the flowers. And by the time we got to the DJ tonight and my head was just going crazy, I'm like, look, man, let me just PayPal you some money and let's continue this next week. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of surprised that I'm able to do the show right now. So if I'm a little bit more mellow, a little bit more quiet tonight, little bit more reserved. That's the reason why. So I will be here Saturday night. Don't forget, Friday show has moved to Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, which is a much more reasonable time for a lot of you out there, including my international friends. Besides, everybody and their mother is now racing to do Friday shows. I tried to do watch-alongs. I figured, okay, I'll do it an hour before everyone else. This way they can do their show and we don't have to split viewers. And then everybody else started wanting to do watch-alongs also. So I'm like, man, keep your Fridays. I'll chill, I'll relax, spend time with my family, my significant other, and we'll do it Saturday night. So, man, what a difference a week makes. God, man. Still, it's surreal to think about this girl is gone, Daphne. By the way, everybody that contributed last week that requested one, I mailed out all the Daphne photos today. Mailed them all. So if you got in on it, you should get yours anyways between tomorrow and early next week. Some of you that live overseas, it's going to take a little bit longer. Now, tonight, we're going to do Q&A. If you want to call in, talk about whatever you want. In fact, right before we went live, Charlie Conway is talking about the Nirvana lawsuit. Get this, everybody. Get this. Remember the infamous album cover of Nirvana with the little kid, the baby swimming in the pool with the money next to it? That little kid is now grown up, and he's suing for child pornography because his little peepee was featured on. Seriously? I mean, this is just the world we live in. It doesn't surprise me anymore. It doesn't surprise me. Even earlier today, people are like, oh, you're going to talk about the announcement with Biden, making it mandatory for all these government people. And the first thing I see is that, oh, no, the post office people, they're exempt. Because if they go on strike and the mail doesn't get delivered, everybody is screwed. Come on, now you understand why I don't pay attention to politics. I'm aware. I honestly don't care anymore. I care about myself. I care about all of you. I care about my family, my fiance, my health, my hobbies, my happiness. That's it. That's it. When I die, if my fiance, soon-to-be wife, outlives me, I'll leave everything to her. All the wrestling stuff, I will give her instructions to give it away to all of you out there if you still support me. Now, as far as the contest tonight, I'm going to keep it simple. I was going to try to make it really complex, but I was like, man, I don't feel like it tonight, man. Tonight's contest is going to be so easy. If you saw that opening clip of yours truly showing the scars from my auto accident, that is a hint for who dat. I'm going to give a couple of quick hints of a wrestler that currently wrestles on television. Could be WWE, could be AEW, could be NXT, could be Impact Wrestling. One of the hints has to do with what you saw of yours truly with the injuries a few moments ago. Keep that thought in the back of your head. You'll probably get the question like this tonight. Now, on top of it, I told you about a mystery box that I got from WWE. It was pretty cool. And and by the way, the reason I'm wearing my BWO shirt tonight, this is original. I can't believe it still fits. Thank God no holes from moths over the years. But Blue Meanie did an appearance today with Gerald Briscoe and John Bradshaw Layfield. I watched about 15 minutes of it, and I loved it. So wearing a BWO shirt tonight is a little shout out to Blue Meanie. I don't expect one back, but all of you out there, if you want to go check out a pretty cool appearance on their podcast, go check out Meanie tonight. It was pretty good, pretty good. Shout out to everybody who is live right now. Shout out to everybody who is watching this after the fact. Sorry that you are unable to get in on the contest for today. We do a lot of contests with posting comments after shows air, so I want to try to include everyone, but tonight it's going to be live. You know, I was looking at some of my autographed cards earlier today. I found two that have quite a bit of value to them. And I ask you all, do you think there's a possibility that we may see these two go at it in AEW in the future? Yeah, my scrawny fingers. AJ Lee and Paige, you think this may be a match in the future? Might be a match in the future. Remember that CM Punk audio clip I played for you last week? You know, CM Punk telling a lot of other interviews, don't even bring it up. It's a dead issue. The neck, it's gone. That audio clip I played sounded awfully different. And look, we're wrestling fans. As selfish wrestling fans, we would love to see AJ back in wrestling. Of course, we don't want to see her injured. But, man, that would be cool if she is healthy enough to come back, as well as Paige. Now, depending on how you all feel tonight, Tuesday on Patreon, Mish played a 20-minute clip of something I did almost 12 years ago. It had to do with Dixie Carter and her absolute mismanagement trying to go head-to-head with WWE. It was a sermon that I did spoofing the church, and it was talking about Dixie Carter and her dumb analogy that TNA and WWE was like David and Goliath. Now, everybody Tuesday that had never heard the clip before thought it was epic. So what I did was I edited about 3 minutes off of it to make it a little bit more reasonable. And if you all are interested in hearing it later, I will play it during the show. Yes, it is filler. It is filler because I don't know how much we have to talk about tonight. So maybe I'll share that. A lot of you have been asking me also, DT, we want to check out some of your retro hotline stuff from 20 years ago. I know that there's other podcasts out there that have bigger fan bases than me. Different styles, different subjects, different formats. But, you know, I love all these people that call themselves the OG. Not trying to brag, but you're looking at the OG. I've been doing this since 97. And in 2002, before there were podcasts, I had my hotline and I bought wrestling-news.com. Originally, it was wrestleguide.com. And then I bought the domain wrestling-news.com. And I wanted a way of putting my hotline reports on the internet so everybody could enjoy them for free. So at the time, it was the Blackhearts, myself, Matt Zombie, Brian Damage, and Timmy Arson, the ECW Zombie. Yes, he was one of my co-hosts, close friend, did all his insurance back then. I missed this guy. But I'll tell you this much, everybody. You know me, I don't pay attention to demos with ratings like everybody else. As I've said before, the only people that should be extremely concerned about demographics are the wrestling promotions themselves, the networks that they're on, and the advertisers. That's it. You know what? Got all these other people out there that have to like focus this and twist this. No, AEW did not win the ratings for Wednesday night. They did not. They did score number one in the 18 to 34, 18 to 49 demographic. And that's awesome. That's impressive. But, you know, for me, it's always about overall viewers. I don't care if you're 5, 50, 99 years old. At the end of the day, isn't it funny how all these podcasters out there, when they look at their total viewers, thank you for the 47,000 who tuned in tonight. No, they don't. We see our demographics. And honestly, right now, my largest demographic is 18 to 34 and 18 to 49. When I first started this channel, my demographic was 50 and over. But tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about demographics because I think this is probably NXT's number one problem. Personally, I think they need to be taken off the USA Network. I know a lot of you are like, Are you nuts, DT? Are you serious? Yeah, I'm dead serious. I understand the demographics, but let's talk a minute. And the reason why I even got on the topic of demographics tonight was I was reminiscing a little bit about Timmy today, because I found some of my old hotlines from 20 years ago. So any of you out there that never heard the geeky, goofy, yours truly from 20 years ago, I'll play like 2-3 minutes for you tonight. Give you a little sample of what the hotline was like back then. I got a clip for you. But do you know when ECW, the WWE version of ECW debuted, and my friend Timmy, the ECW zombie, appeared? Do you know the rating that night? They had 3.38 million viewers. And the demo, the 18 to 34 demo, not only was like 1.6, everybody has an orgasm when AEW does 0.6. ECW did 1.6. And here's even more impressive. And this is where I think WWE's big problem with NXT right now is. Seriously. I think this is a serious problem. And look, I know that there's experts out there that focus on demos. I'm not trying to be better than them. This is just an opinion. I looked at a press release that WWE posted in 2006 touting ECW's debut on Sci-Fi. And do you know at that time, 25% of the total viewership, 25% of the total viewership was 18 to 34. 1/4 of all the viewers were 18 to 34. That is a gigantic number. You look at the 18 to 34 demographic this week for NXT, 18 to 34 this week did 0.06. That is 4 times less in the percentage department of what it was back then. And the number of viewers is what they did 3.4 million before. Now they do 600,000. That is what, 80% less than the viewers? If 10% is 334,000, yeah. So 50% would be 1.65 million. 75%, yeah, they're down 3/4 of their viewers from that. And yes, NXT is different from ECW. Here's my point. Look at NXT's results today, this week. Kaylee Ray versus Ember Moon. Santos Escobar versus Carmelo Hayes. The Creed brothers versus, I can't remember the guys' names. Sorry. Io Shirai and Zoe Stark versus Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro. MSK versus Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch. And you had the Bachelor and Bachelorette party segments. I'm going to read you the demographics for this past week for NXT. And again, you know me, I don't ever pay attention to demos. Again, the only people that should really be concerned about it is the wrestling companies themselves, the networks, and the advertisers. All three should be very concerned about NXT right now, and I'll tell you why. The 18 to 49 demographic was 0.1. Wait a minute. I just said, whoa. I said that the ECW rating on Sci-Fi from 2006, the 18 to 34 was 1.4, 1.5. This week it was 0.06 to show you how almost all of the 18 to 34s are gone. 18 to 49 did 0.14. Female 18 to 49 did 0.08. So you lost a lot of your female viewers that used to tune in. 18 to 49 did 0.2. 18 to 34 did 0.06. I'm getting somewhere with this. Female 12 to 34 did 0.04. Male 12 to 34 did 0.11. 25 to 54 did 0.16. And the biggest demographic of the night, NXT's biggest audience, fans 50 years old and older, 0.33. You have 5 times the number of fans over 50 tuning in compared to fans 18 to 34 or 18 to 49. What does that say? You look at, I'm not going to repeat the results from this week, but you think about every person that I just mentioned that wrestled on NXT this week. You tell me what is so attractive about those wrestlers to someone who's over 50 years old. Think about that for a minute. You have 50-year-old plus fans who are diehard, loyal WWE fans that are pretty much going to tune in no matter what. But every other demographic is going down and down and down and down. What happens when the over 50 crowd looks at these? I don't want to see the Creed brothers. MSK. I think MSK is a phenomenal team. Their ratings suck because they don't belong in NXT anymore. Or take it off the USA Network because those demographics are pathetic. Put it on Peacock so none of these people online can expose how horrendous. When you go into a finance meeting, WWE, USA Network, everything, and you look at those pie charts, you tell me what in NXT is attracting the 50-year-olds. So this is a huge problem. It is a huge problem. Now, the reason why I was going to share my Father Tony sermon from 2010 is there is a reason behind it, not just to be entertained. But back in 2010, once they got Hogan, Bischoff, and other big names going to TNA, Dixie Carter thought about moving NWA TNA to Monday nights. She got her ass handed to her. And Dixie Carter's biggest problem, and I think little by little, Tony Khan is maturing with this. I give him credit. Dixie Carter back then used to always name drop WWE. Now, talking about it in competition with ratings now is fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But Dixie Carter, she decided to take a stance 11 years ago where she said that TNA was this little David and WWE was this huge Goliath. And if you followed the story of David versus Goliath, even though Goliath was this giant monster, David with a little slingshot was able to slay the monster. And she kept pushing this David versus Goliath, David versus Goliath, David versus Goliath. Now, me, I'm not a very religious person, but I know the actual story of David and Goliath. And every time she would write this, people back then who were gushing over TNA because they thought they were going to get a job, they thought they were going to get interviews, they thought they were going to get follows, likes, and everything else. They want to be on the good graces of these people, so nobody would challenge her. Nobody would challenge her. Back then, when TNA was at its peak, I don't want to bring up some people that worked behind the scenes in the past, but I know a lot of you remember Mr. Mystery. For those that don't know, Mr. Mystery was someone who worked behind the scenes for TNA, was getting paid pretty good, but was not happy there. And Mr. Mystery, because our shows and Breakfast with Blassie, more specific, since we would be blunt about what was going on in TNA, he would give us a lot of exclusives. And we were breaking all these exclusive news stories online. And every other website out there refused to report it. When Hall and Nash and X-Pac were going to reform in TNA, we broke that 2 weeks before. Every other website refused to cover it. And I used to go on my shows back then. So when people, get upset sometimes when I bring up goofs and goofy podcast stuff, always keep in mind, though, that I've been doing this for 25 years. And even 15 years ago, the same crap that's happening now happened back then. And, I used to always go on my shows and say, let's pretend CBS and NBC didn't like each other. CBS and NBC hated each other. Now you got a mass shooting, a fire, a tragedy somewhere, and CBS is the first news crew to get on scene, and they're the only ones that are able to be there with cameras. You mean to tell me NBC is not going to cover it just because CBS is the one with all the footage? That's what happened 20 years ago with dumb wrestling websites. That's what happened 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and even now to this day. So I try not to upset anybody out there when I confront people, but it's worse today because back then, Dixie Carter, she's married, she's home in Nashville. You got Fusion. No, Fusion was WCW. I can't remember the company that they had. I'm sure someone will correct me in a second. But, they thought, maybe they'll get like free tickets if they go to Florida or something like that, or maybe get a little interview here and there. With Tony Khan, people think that, they're all playing like, the berserker. Hush, hush, hush. Give me interview, like, follow, money, shirt, press pass, interview, like, shirt, hush, hush. Some people will get it. Some people won't. Panda Energy, thank you, Lee. Shout out to Lee. Austin. So back then, as much as people kissed the ass of Dixie, the only people that really got somewhere is people inside the wrestling business. Everybody loves Uncle Tony. Not me. We're talking about the other Tony. So listening to that sermon that I did 11 and a half years ago, I said, wow, especially now. Because do I think AEW is going to overtake WWE? No, not right now. No. See what a lot of people need to understand is 3 years ago, when I said that AEW is going to be the first true millennial promotion, a lot of people didn't even understand what I meant. Now they understand it. One thing AEW needs to start doing, and we touched on it yesterday very briefly, no one else is bringing this up. No one. You look at the legendary feuds over the years, the legendary feuds, and we bring up Steamboat Savage, Flair Funk, Flair Steamboat, Cena Edge, Cena Orton, Rock Triple H, Rock Austin. What's the common denominator with all those guys? They fought against each other over and over and over and over, house shows and over. The formula with AEW for the first 2.5 years is hype up a match, tease it for 3-4 weeks, leads up to a pay-per-view match, and then that's it. On to the next person. On to the next person. And you look, even if Bryan Danielson takes on Kenny Omega, you'll see some promo exchanges for 2 weeks. You might end up having a beatdown here and there, maybe even a tag match or a trios match or something. And then it leads to that one epic battle. And then after that epic battle, okay, who moves on next? Who's next? Why did Darby Allin and CM Punk's feud have to end so quickly? CM Punk, as soon as the match is over, who should I take on next? Wait. You look back on it in history, you need some of these feuds to go 2-3 pay-per-views. And that's something they're not doing right now. The only two people that have kind of done that a little bit is MJF and Jericho. And even that was all over the place. Even that. Because after Blood and Guts, you thought that was it. Matt Hardy and Guevara, a little bit. That there are some people that do it. I'm talking about main event, champions, championship matches, the people you're paying the crazy bucks for. Jericho obviously is getting paid top dollar because he is one of the most important. I mean, you look back at the Mount Rushmore of AEW. I guarantee a shitload of people are going to put Jericho as one of those 4 people. But you look at some of the people that matter, you know, just to the next person, to the next person. And the problem is that when you just sign people, you get that urge to change this, change that, change this. We were talking the other day. What happened to Matt Hardy? You know, trying to destroy Darby and others and stuff like that. A lot of little storylines just like get forgotten about. And maybe sometimes for good reason. But it's like rotisserie. It's like rotisserie. And as I pointed out on Wednesday, you look at those the rankings, those 5 top wrestlers that they showed with Miro and even Kenny Omega, you know none of those 5 are going to get a shot at Kenny Omega's championship anytime soon. And we brought up Pac before. Pac was the number 1 contender for how many weeks? Brian Cage at one point was up there. And, you know, now you got all these guys, and they're getting championship matches. Bryan Danielson's going to get a championship match without wrestling once. Ruby Soho became number 1 contender by winning a battle royal and hadn't wrestled another match. But yet you have other people winning 20, 25 matches and not getting the opportunity. So Tony Khan, as time goes on, I think he will figure a lot of this out. What Tony Khan cannot do is the mistake Dixie Carter made. When you hear Tony Khan, you know, look, you know he wants to be a wrestling character. One day, Tony Khan will be a wrestling character weekly on television. Might mimic Bischoff, might not. But you saw a couple little teases with AEW Dark. Tony Khan wants to be an on-air character. No question. And that's one of the reasons why they don't do the GM character. They want Tony Khan to be the only one with the power. But here's the thing. When Tony Khan takes shots at Nick Khan or WWE, he thinks because he puts on a pair of sunglasses and lets his 5 o'clock shadow get a little deeper, that no, he's just playing a character. He's just having fun. Not really taking it seriously. Yeah, but you're not a character on TV. Pick one. Can't have it both ways. So I truly believe in time, Tony Khan will calm that down a lot more. You want to let a wrestler take a shot? Go right ahead. But Tony Khan, I think he's learning as he goes along, and he cannot make the same mistake that Dixie Carter made, because Dixie Carter tried to play this underdog thing, and it backfired, and it backfired miserably. So I'm going to, if you want, I'll play the audio. You want to go get a beverage or something like that, I'll share it. Like I said, I trimmed it down a little bit, so it's a lot quicker. But if you picture this, because listen, let's also understand something. AEW right now, if you really pay close attention, they'll never reveal the numbers because they're not a publicly traded company. But AEW has lost money. AEW has lost money. They have an incredible number of people on their payroll, and they couldn't work house shows and go to other venues because of COVID. It's not because of mismanagement, it's because of COVID. Tony Khan, in his last interview, which a lot of people refuse to acknowledge, Tony Khan basically said that, you know, he should have released people like WWE did, but he kept people on the payroll out of his own pocket and on his own dime during COVID because it was the right thing to do. And look, if that's what you want to do with your money, I can't argue with that. But if you really pay attention to that interview that he did, he pretty much understands the business side and why WWE made the cuts. Now, the problem with WWE right now is simple. It's simple. And it's not brain surgery. And I touched on it a little bit yesterday. Tony Khan is giving people what they want to see right now. When WWE says it's a marathon, not a sprint, for 2021, and maybe for the next year or two, AEW is basically saying, fuck the marathon. Let's give everybody like an indie wrestling event. Indie wrestling comes to your town. You got a whole bunch of great matches. Everybody wants to hang out and check it out. And then next week, it's a whole new set of matches. That's why a lot of matches get put together with literally no build. Now they're saying that Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy are going to do a hair versus hair match. You see Cody and Malachi Black, as we touched on it Wednesday, they're going to fight in Queens, New York. No build yesterday. No teasing. Cody doesn't come out to try to save his brother, to explain why Cody is. What is he going to do, wrestle with one boot? You know, they should have done something. Cody should have come out there last night, chase Malachi Black out of this is what I would have done. After the match was over, Malachi Black should have continued to beat down on Dustin and just continue beating him down. Could have even got on the mic that he was going to finish Dustin like he did Cody. And then Cody should have came out, wailed on Malachi Black a little bit. Malachi Black should have gotten out of dodge. And then Cody looks down and he picks up the boot. And Cody puts the boot back on his foot and walks off. And then you make the announcement later on that it's Cody versus Malachi Black in Queens, New York. Perfect. Makes sense. No, it was rushed yesterday because they needed to have 65 people on their show, and they mismanaged a lot of the time. So we don't know the pay-per-view buy rate fallout yet. You know, I don't know, 250,000 buys? That might be, a roundabout number. 250,000 buys, especially in 2021, where it's streaming media and it's not like the old cable companies. So the money made is a little bit more than before. That definitely recovers quite a bit of funds for AEW. So that's a decent buy rate. But remember, their next pay-per-view is not until November. So they got to literally wait now 2 months to have the next big, huge payday. Going to these arenas and selling 15,000 seats is all nice and dandy. But, they don't own those arenas. So they got to pay the arenas. They got to pay the tax. They got to pay the insurance. They got to pay the vendors. They got to pay everything else. That's why shirts are now $40 a pop. So, in the end, basically, if you want all your favorites competing in an AEW ring, you're going to have to pay more for it. That's really what it comes down to. What WWE does is they put some people on TV that you like, but they mix in a whole bunch of others that you just, are not interested in. Yes, AEW put some people on TV that really should not be there, but they're not the focal point for the most part. Look, I love Finn Balor. When I started Patreon many years ago, probably the most requested person next to Bray Wyatt for memorabilia and contests was Finn Balor. I gave away so many replica NXT titles of him autographing them. And now he's going to face Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules. With all due respect, does anybody truly give a shit? Yeah, he's going to come back as the Demon Balor, but he's going to lose. Roman Reigns ain't losing the title. That's the problem with WWE. It's like Roman Reigns is 1 year as champion. He's done a phenomenal job in his character. He's done a wonderful job in his character. But everybody he feuds with, it's either too predictable or it just feels like, all right, let's just get through the next 2 months. Then we got the draft in October and this and that. And, AEW is more of like an indie wrestling event. Just throw a lot of people out there that everybody likes. Everybody does a little something, and that's it. A month from now, this person, they just throw everybody out there. And honestly, give me a second. You look at AEW's, seriously, no one out there is doing the research, but I will tell you, and you could go look for yourself. Look at AEW's total match times with wrestling matches up to 2 months ago. And look at it now. You will see a substantial decrease in the time for a lot of matches. You will see a substantial decrease in the amount of time for women's matches on Wednesdays. You will see that for the first year and a half, AEW gave longer matches. There were times where almost every match was close to 10 minutes plus. Now, 4 minutes, 9 minutes, 3 minutes, 14 minutes. Like, they'll still give you one good one. But a lot of other stuff is just chomp down, chomp down, chomp down. And my God, you know, I keep saying it. I'll continue saying it. They have to fix that problem with the referees. They need to fix the problem with the referees. It's just awful. And the thing is that these referees are not that bad. But just, you know, some of the things that they do is just inexcusable. And it just gives that perception that AEW, basically it feels like AEW is like, no fan is not going to watch because of stupid referee antics. They just want to see their favorites on TV. Just put them on TV, put them on TV, put them on TV. You know, after a while, you know, you run out of things and it's gonna be interesting. But anyway, a lot of you out there always asked for me to put retro hotline clips, hotline shows that I did 20 years ago. And like I said, before there was ever even podcasts, I was taking my hotline reports, saving it as an audio file and putting it on the net for everybody. So again, with all due respect for everyone out there, when they talk about OGs, nobody goes back 25 years like yours truly. But I'm going to play you right now just a little treat for a few of you that asked for Thursdays, just 2 or 3 minutes, what my hotline sounded like 25 years ago. It's a little cringe.
This is Anthony. I want to thank you very much for calling. If you are checking us out on the web at WrestlingNews.com, welcome aboard. Got my best buddy with me, Matt Zombie, with me. How you doing, Matt?
Hey, under the weather and not feeling better. And you know what? For a few of the callers that are like, oh, you don't sound sick when you do the hotline. Why you crying, Wolf? Kind of a little analogy to make. No, not that I feel that I'm like Terry Funk or anything, but back in 1989, Funk would basically crawl from his car to the arena, be gimping around backstage, but once his music played, he'd be fucking strutting and doing himself. And let's just say I'll turn it up a notch for a half hour to give you all the news that you can use.
And you get an idea of what the wrestling news was like 20 years ago.
I crawl back into my fucking bronchitis, influenza infected hole.
It's called sucking it up, and it's called adrenaline.
Exactly.
Don't come on here and say, oh, sorry I didn't update earlier. You know, I had to go, you know, to the store, and I had to take a shit. Or, you know, I was just really tired. You suck it up.
Yeah, fuck. Shawn Michaels got a 3.5-star match out of Sid, Royal Rumble, 1997, and he had 104 fucking fever, 103 fever.
Look at me. I had every fucking emotion in the last couple of hours because of what I found out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm crying 1 minute, I'm happy the next, you heard?
Yeah. Why don't you share your emotional information with the callers out there?
I don't know if I should cry, or if I should be happy, or if I should be sad, or, you know, resentful, or just feel guilty. But apparently the Raven's Nest is flying the coop.
Oh, well, wasn't that line supposed to go by the wayside when Mike retired?
You want to know something? You know, he reminds me of Terry Funk now because he's going to retire and then come back there. Oh, I want to give a shout-out to Officer Joe Richter from Port Authority.
Oh, one of the most unlikely sources you'd think we'd ever have, but it turns out that this dude does work for the Port Authority. He's currently over at LaGuardia Airport, and I believe it was Saturday afternoon, Hogan, Hall, and Nash connecting flight, you know, on their way from Stamford down to Tampa, you know, had a little stopover at LaGuardia and, you know, basically said what's going on with the invasion, NWO, whatever you want to call it. And he said basically they all were nice guys, although Hogan was giving different officers and different employees of the airport different spins on when he would be returning. But, hey, that's Hogan.
Yeah, well, you know, he also mentioned, too, that he's been a long-time listener of us, and he gave the number out to all of his fellow cops. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
You know what? It's the FBI that cares about my bootlegging, and it's only a small portion of the FBI. You think a fucking cop cares that I sell a bootleg video? I don't think so.
the FBI, Balls Mahoney,
But
Tommy Dreamer.
I want to address one thing. For everybody who says they're Hogan marks and how much they love this guy, and this even goes to Officer Richter, you said you had a wife and kids, right? You think Hogan cares about... Hogan basically raped a woman. He forced her to suck his dick the day of the first Nitro. He goes on television and blatantly lies. He destroyed other wrestlers' careers. He only cares about his fucking self. So, you know what? I don't care what kind of character he portrays on TV and how nice he can be to fans. He's a two-faced motherfucker, and he's a piece of shit. Hey, and I'm welcoming him back to the WWF because it'll help Vince's ratings, but come on, man, the guy's a sleazebag.
Money buys everything.
And you know what?
That was not me. Let me make that clear. This was a hotline from 20 years ago.
Maybe if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, Rick Rude and Brian Pillman might still be alive, as, you know, Hogan sent them to the Life Extension Institute in California under Dr. Chien, and that's why at the time of their deaths, they had, like, the hearts the size of elephants.
Really?
Well, what do you think GHB does? Human growth hormone, I mean. It makes your organs bigger.
No wonder why everybody says I got the heart of Dumbo. And Matt, it seems like the stories with Jimmy Hart changes by the hour.
Oh, well, fucking the SWF and WWA stories change by the hour, but that's notwithstanding. Okay.
Should I play a little more? Or should we you just get your little sample for now? I think that's enough for now. So, yeah, that's, I'll put some more online. I'll put some more online another time, you know. So back then, you know, everybody thinks that my history on doing stuff is just DTKC. From 1997 to 2006, you know, I was doing shows by myself, the Minority Report, the Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline. But back then it was myself, Mad Zombie, Brian Damage, and Timmy Arson, who you knew as the ECW Zombie. And those shit was wild. But I'm telling you, it was such an awesome feeling when we would do, and I have the clips. I know some of you have heard them before. We would go to indie wrestling shows, and we would ask some of the indie guys. Remember Red, the SATs, you know, RVD would be on some shows, and Kid Cash and others. And half of them would be like, holy shit, I listened to your line. You guys are crazy. I mean, I was pretty wild back then. Half the things that I used to say back then, I would never dare say today. So, yeah. And my God, you know, him bootlegging this stuff. A lot of people, you know the story already, but, you know, Tommy Dreamer wanted to beat the living shit out of this guy. I mean, I don't like bringing up the story today because he is married. You know, he's got children now. But back then when Mad Zombie was selling the bootleg of Beulah, you know, he went to an ECW show in Queens, and they basically cornered him in the bathroom, and they're like, if you ever fucking show up at this building with bootlegs ever again, you know, those tapes are going to be playing from your asshole. And they scared him pretty good. And the next day on his hotline, he's selling tapes. So, oh no, he used to bootleg everything. He had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wrestling videos. You know, Memphis, you know, Florida Championship Wrestling, NWA, best of this, best of that. Everything was bootleg. Guy sold a lot of wrestling tapes back then, man. So, yeah, so you get a little sample. So anyway, I took a picture of it, so it'd be a little bit easier to show you. But, yeah, I got this big mystery box from WWE a couple of days ago. And, yeah, I blacked out the address on the top and part of tracking because, you know, I don't want to reveal my home address. But, you know, when they were doing Thunderdome, and obviously I'm not going to pull a picture up now, but we were coming to the end of Thunderdome, and I had appeared on several of them. And I told that story back then that, you know, somebody had said, oh, you should do Deli Man in Thunderdome. So I said, nah, they say, you know, don't wear any masks or anything that is for any other feds and stuff. And I was like, all right, I'll put it on and see what happens. And then, you know, there was one Thunderdome episode where, you know, and I've talked about this before, where the person hosting it in my earpiece says, could you sit in the center of your camera? And it was definitely not something that they were asking everybody who was in Thunderdome. because everybody, for the most part, was sitting like they were. So I moved to the center of the camera. Next thing I know, I'm on the rampway where people were coming out. I remember Zelina Vega, she made a return, and I'm right there and this and that. I got a kick out of it. Little kid in me came out. So big deal. So I, Thunderdome, I don't want it to ever come back, but I had a good time. So I had joked on an episode of Breakfast Soup with Mitch, and I said, I would love to do Thunderdome, again, as Deli Man. I said, but it's crazy to wear a mask for 3 hours. I said, if I get one of those nice Raw shirts, then put me behind the announcer's table and I'll do Deli Man. And 2 days later, I get a tracking number. And the tracking number from WD, I have no idea what it is. I didn't order anything. And sure enough, a couple of days later, I open it up and it's a Raw shirt. I put it on and did the Deli Man thing. And the next thing you know, I don't know if I have any pictures around, but the next thing you know, I'm right behind the announcers team. Let me see if I can pull one really quick. If I don't have any handy, then the hell with it. Let's see. I usually keep one or two around because there's, I don't think I do. Usually when I say that, I usually will find it. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen in tonight's episode. But, they put me right behind the announcers table. And again, it was cool. But at the same time, like I took notice, everybody online, people are no-selling it. They're ignoring it. Like they got to just like put down Thunderdome a little bit extra. And for me, the little kid in me came out. So yeah, we're not going to show the pictures today. So I had a nice time. And then for the next to last show in the last ever Thunderdome, they put me right smack in the center. And I'm doing the Deli Man and I'm having the salami and everything like that. I thought it was pretty cool. So next thing I know, I was talking last week and we gave away a couple of prizes and everything. And I said, I got to get some more merch, to give away on the shows. And a couple of days ago, I get a UPS alert, you have a delivery expected for Tuesday. And I go and look at the email and it says from WWE. I'm like, the hell did I order? The only thing I ordered recently was the new Seth Rollins shirt, which I got delivered last week. I'm going to wear it Saturday. It's a shirt that will trigger a lot of people. I like Seth Rollins. But I got that shirt last week. I'm like, I didn't order anything else. And the next thing I know, this Tuesday, this giant box comes. And I have no idea what's inside. I haven't opened it up yet. Here's the razor blade. So I said, all right, I'll open it live on the show. And if it's anything really, really good, because one of my listeners sent me this. And I haven't decided if I'm going to give it away yet. But, it was from that person. So I knew, the person who had sent it to me. But this just says from WWE. I'm like, I have no idea what this is. This is not from somebody who follows the shows, just as far as a regular viewer. So I'm going to open the box now. I don't know what's inside it. If it's something unbelievably good, I'm keeping it. I mean, plain and simple. It just is huge. And I'm saying to myself, I have no idea what's in it because the box is so big and it's heavy. So if there's something really cool in there, then, we'll give it away today. So, all right. Here's the box. I'm sorry for the audio only people over here, but I have not opened it up yet. I'm going to open it up. And I'm not a pro with unboxing stuff. So I'm going to open it up. Whatever's inside, we'll see firsthand. But, whatever it is, it's heavy. And you know what? If somebody within WWE is sending me stuff, to give away, because, a lot of people forget when I did Tombstone Radio 20 years ago, everybody out there was like, how is WWE allowing you to play their copyrighted music online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year? And I said it was simple. I sent them an email and I said, I'd like to stream music online. And they said, as long as you do it in no better quality than, I think it was like 64 kbps or 30, I don't remember. And you do not sell it, it's fine. So I did Tombstone Radio for 2 years, from 2002 2002 to 2004, I played wrestling theme music online 24 hours a day. And I played all the WWF stuff, WC, everything. And people were like, people tried to get me in trouble. People were trying to like, hey, WWE, they're playing your copyrighted music. They didn't understand I had permission already. So when I see all these people like getting like flags on YouTube or Twitter for streaming like stuff, 99 out of 100 times, they never ask for permission. They just think, oh, fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use. But they're not going to go pay for a lawyer if they get in trouble. It's not worth it. Don't be lazy. Contact the source and say, hey, is it all right if I play a little bit? Look at the CM Punk interview clip I played last Saturday. I contacted the show that did the interview, and I said, is it all right if I play like 30 seconds of it? And they asked me my channel, and they said, as long as you, link us and put the credit, like, we're cool with it. That's it. No problems. I've never gotten flagged. Never had a takedown. All right, let's open this. Oh, lovely. Boxes within boxes. I boxes within boxes. They look all the same. Here. 1, 2. It's like that scene from Airplane when Leslie Nielsen keeps taking the egg out of the woman's mouth. 3. I hope this is like a set of something. I don't know what it is. The label doesn't even say anything. It just says WWE on it. 4, 5. There's no packing slip. It's just a piece of cardboard. Nothing. It's empty. I have no idea what it is. Making a mess over here. I'm sorry for my audio only friends out there. All right, let's see what these things are. Anybody have it? Yeah, it does. It looks like the size of like a figure or something. It ain't a title belt. I'm trying to think, like, what set came out? I don't know. Oh, it's definitely a figure. There's styrofoam. Okay, it's one of those Focos. Doesn't say who it is, though. I don't want to, like, mess it up. I know they were in demand. I gave all mine away. I still have like 2, 3 left over. My God, they gave me another Bray Wyatt. I'll take it, man. I'll take it. They're selling on eBay right now for $129. I don't know. Are these all the same, or am I getting like one of everything? I tell you, whoever sent it, thank you, because everybody knows here I appreciate the stuff, man. And if I give it away, everybody sees, I give stuff away. I'd rather see people enjoy it. Right, this one's a little different. This one says WWE in the front. I think they're all the same. All right. So it looks like I got a bunch of more Bray Wyatt Focos. So, hey, I mean, obviously he's gone from the company, so maybe they just have a ton of these left over, but I'll open one more box, see if it's any different. So, yeah, so guess what? We got giveaways for like the next 2 weeks. Let's see. I'll open one more. Yeah, this one. Yeah, I guess they're all Bray Wyatt. All right, cool. Cool. Absolutely cool. Again, whoever, thank you so much. Trust me, I know everybody tuning in, thanks you as well. That's awesome, man. Yeah, this is the original BWO shirt. See the back? It's a little worn out. I have it, 24 years? BWO came out, 25 years. Came out in 96. Yeah, 96, 97, because Terry Funk won the title in 97, and BWO was already out. So, all right, so I guess we'll give away like a Bray Wyatt Foco tonight. Why not, shall we? Now I kind of feel bad because the person who I chose for the Who Dat contest, I don't know, WWE would kind of like approve of the choice, but that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. Like I said, whoever wins it, if you want to put it on eBay and get $1.25, even $100 for it, go right ahead, But yeah, prizes given away. People have sent me stuff. I mean, over the years, I've had people say, like I said, man, I know that I'll never be polished and I'll never be accepted by the usual folk out there because I hold my ground and I say how I feel, whether people like it or not. And it does piss people off. And I feel bad sometimes, but, I will never change my ways. If I feel that, there's problems with somebody or something as far as wrestling goes, I'm not going to kiss ass and gush simply because it's going to get me stuff. You know what? I'm going to share this. And I'm sorry for anybody who's ever seen her before, but I'm going to play a video clip right now. And this is a perfect example why I do what I do. Okay. Somebody bought a cameo video of Karrion Kross not too long ago. Oh, shit. My video is all distorted. So it's not, the video is going to look distorted on the screen. I'm so sorry. There's nothing I could do about it. But, to me, this is like the number one compliment that you could give yours truly. Check this out. And again, I'm sorry about the crappy, the size of the box. I can't fix it. For some reason, once I go live, it doesn't let me resize boxes. But yeah, this is what Karrion Kross said about yours truly. I didn't buy this cameo. Someone else did. And I guess they brought up that, big supporter of his.
I appreciate you as a fan. I don't ever mean to seem redundant when I am speaking to fans, but I always think it's proper and respectful to show that gratitude back. I'm glad you're enjoying the new and improved, updated presentation. The stuff you're seeing on TV right now has been stuff I've wanted to do for a very long time. On my side, as a performer, as a pro wrestler, sports entertainer, I have to pick and choose when would be the most appropriate time to show you guys new things. And I'm really glad that it's being received so well. Don Tony and Kevin Castle, here's a funny story for you. Not many people know this, although it's probably not going to be shocking to you. I was a fan of that show before I even had anything to do with this industry or this business. I used to listen to their show all the time, and I have to tell you, it was, I've had a lot of surreal experiences, but probably one of the biggest ones was one day putting on the show and hearing them talk about me. Because I mean, I had been listening to them for like a very, very, very long time prior to being a form of discussion. So that was pretty weird, in a good way, obviously. Love those guys. I haven't met them in person, but I've chatted with them before, and my favorite thing about those two guys is they're very real. They'll just tell it to you like it is, and I think people like that are important in the world. Because I think sometimes we, from a social standpoint, we get too overly concerned with wanting everybody to like us. And I think you can lose yourself doing that. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to appease everybody in the room. Maybe the people you want to like you, you might not even like them. And those two guys are not worried about that. And I like people like that.
Best compliment you could ever give. Other than like, Don Tony, he's so sexy. He's so sexy. No. Be honest with people. It's not the most popular thing telling the truth is not popular for a lot of people out there. I will never change my ways. And that's why, our audience is a little bit smaller than others, but I always try to talk to you and not at you. And there's such a huge difference. But so anyway, let's do the contest, shall we? So I don't even have the notes in front of me. That's how easy this contest is. I'm going to give you a couple of clues. If nobody gets it right, then I will show you a picture of this person. If you still don't get it right, I will show you a second picture. Trust me, somebody will answer it very quickly. Now, if you saw the beginning of today's show of yours truly in the bathroom showing the injuries from my car accident, hint number one of this person. So you could post your choices, and whoever gets it right first wins the Bray Wyatt Foco. This wrestler currently wrestles on television. It could be AEW, it could be WWE, it could be Impact Wrestling. This wrestler, a little over 2 years ago, had an auto accident and had very similar injuries to yours truly. Has a broken leg, ankle. He has a rod in his lower leg. And his career was in very much doubt. Very serious auto accident a little over 2 years ago. This person has competed on NXT television and AEW television. This wrestler has been coined the next Bryan Danielson. Anybody get it yet? We'll give everybody a few seconds. Sean KB is close. Not? No, it's not Magnum TA. This wrestler is under the age of 30. I'm going to let it go for a little bit longer, because I have just decided I'm going to give away 2 Bray Wyatt Focos. So now we got to end the contest because we do have 2 people that got it right. So the photo, now the contest is over. We got 2 winners. So let me stop the screen, but that would have been your photo tease. That would have been your photo tease. I thought about using this as a photo tease also, and this as a photo tease too. But yeah, congratulations to Joe New and David R. They both got it right. I'm going to give each one of them, since we got, 6 of these today? So I'll give each one of them a Bray Wyatt Foco. Yeah, Daniel Garcia. I will be honest with you, everyone. I kind of feel stupid after making fun of him last Wednesday when he was wearing the sweatshirt. He looked like a 6th grader. He doesn't have that kind of definition to be staying in front of the camera as a 6th grader. That's how he looked. But when I started doing some research on the guy and then learned about his car accident and how this guy got back to the ring in 6 months, you look into Daniel Garcia's career, and I know Wheeler, Utah is one that got a lot of publicity, that, he had to try out at the Performance Center and WWE didn't take him. But I honestly think when you start looking at Daniel Garcia's resume, and I think he's only 22 years old, 22 or 24, but he's got his whole career ahead of him. So, for WWE standards, still let him maybe get a little bit bigger in wrestling, maybe develop a little bit more. And then when maybe he's like 26, 27 years old, that's when they snatch him up. So, very cool. Very cool. I wanted to do an easy contest today. The headache that I had earlier, it's still lingering, and it really, really sucks. But I just wanted to keep it simple tonight. So those 2, you can DM me on Twitter or email me, dontony@dontony.com, and I'll get your prizes out either tomorrow or Monday at the latest. Other than that, I'll take some calls if you want, to call in. I also have that Father Tony stuff if you want me to stream it. Like I said, if you think of that audio And you know what we'll do? We'll save that for the end. Because if anybody out there who's heard it already and is not interested in hearing it, you can just disconnect. But, you know, we'll take some calls now. Take it for like 20 minutes or so. You know, we're at an hour and 10 minutes already, so we'll go about 90 minutes. But don't forget, Saturday night at 8 p.m., I'm going to be right back here. And if the news is light, we'll take calls again. So, yeah. So very cool, very cool. So let me switch the template here so everybody knows the call-in numbers. There you go. Got to take it off Do Not Disturb, obviously. Whatever's on your mind, wrestling, non-wrestling, you know, just keep the questions to the point. Anybody that called in the last 2 days, you know, maybe wait a few minutes and maybe let a few other people call in, and then, you know, to wrap it up, we could get into your stuff also. Not forcing anybody to wait, but, you know, definitely love to, you know, hear what some of you have to say. Yesterday, some awesome questions. Loved the back and forth. So I'm going to take it off to Do Not Disturb. 833-366. And look, you don't have to be on YouTube right now. If you're listening on Twitter or Facebook or something like that, you know, the number's still the same. 833-366-8686 or 225-366-8669. Good evening. You're on. Who's this?
Hey, DC, it's Elijah again.
Hey, Elijah, what's up? What's going on?
So, yeah, doing well. How are you?
Very good, very good.
Yeah. So, going back to a thing that you stated earlier, and you made an awesome point that went over my head that I hadn't really paid attention to. You were absolutely right when you said that AEW really has not had that defining feud yet in the company. You know, you haven't had anything like a Rock Austin or a Hogan Savage level feud.
Yeah. I think Kenny Omega and Hangman Page may be the first one. The thing is, though, is if they do end up having that fight for the championship, and even if Hangman Page wins, you know, AEW, if you look at the track record the last 2+ years, when Hangman Page wins it, someone else is probably going to immediately go after him, you know, to challenge him for it, instead of letting Hangman Page and Kenny Omega go at it for a few months. Let it go into a couple of house shows. Let it go into more than one Dynamite. Let it go to maybe the next pay-per-view. And that's something that I really think they need to do. You know, I like the feud with MJF and Jericho, don't get me wrong, but, you know, it almost feels like that was just done, you know, because there was really nothing else for those guys right now. I mean, look, MJF now is going to have a match with Brian Pillman Jr., and I have nothing against that, but, you know, that just feels like, okay, out of nowhere it's being thrown out. A lot of people even said yesterday, I saw online, like, why didn't they do this with Pillman 3 months ago when he had so much more momentum at the time, especially right after Dark Side of the Ring? So, you know, they really need to start doing that. I don't know if they will.
Yeah, and, you know, there have been times already where they could have had it. I thought Omega and Moxley would have been that one. But, I mean, maybe they can make it work now with Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, I still can't get past that for almost a year or for 8 months. All that Moxley said is that he just ate, slept, crapped that belt, nothing else in life other than his wife. And I think she was pregnant at the time too, you know, cared. And he gets screwed out of the championship by Don Callis. And I said it back in, I think it was November. I said, for next Dynamite, he should have stormed that ring, refused to leave it. He's not leaving that ring until Kenny Omega goes out there and confronts him. They could have done a suspension angle, something, but he cared so much about that belt that in storyline he got screwed, and then he disappeared for 4 months. It's ridiculous that they need to have feud go, you know, consistent. No other, you know, distractions, no other outside interference. Two guys feuding for 2-3 months minimum straight, week after week after week. And I have yet to see that, for like Kenny Omega or somebody major. They've teased it, but they never pull the trigger for more than a match.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, much love, my friend. Thank you for calling in, and I appreciate that you picked up on that, because that's something like, I'm saying to myself, they really need to address that and address it soon. I didn't like the CM Punk remark Wednesday. Soon as he won the match, the first question out of AJ, and storyline obviously, but the first question is, what next? Why move away from Darby Allin so quick? So I don't like that jump. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. Much love, my friend. Have a good night.
You have a good night, too.
All right. Be well.
Bye.
I appreciate that he noticed that, because that's something that I've noticed, and definitely something that they need to, not complaining right now, but it's definitely something that they are going to have to address soon. All right. Open the phone lines again, 833-366-8686 or 225-366-8669. Good evening, you're on. Who's this?
Sure.
Hi, it's Lex from Illinois.
Hi, how's it going?
I had a question for you.
Sure.
With Kyle O'Reilly...
Does he remember you? He
Yeah.
called you out on the show.
I sell rocks for my dog.
I couldn't hear that. What was that?
I sell rocks for my dog. You remember me?
Oh, yes. Yes, your father was on our... Wait, was it your father was on our Patreon? Lexi's Rocks, right?
Yep.
I remember. Absolutely. Very cool. You still have the website?
Yep.
What's the website? Let everybody know. Everybody, seriously, check it out. Definitely check it out.
Lucky Rocks.
Lexi's Lucky Rocks. .com, right?
Yep.
All right. Very cool. So what's going on?
I got a question for you.
Sure.
With Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, the only ones left on NXT from the Undisputed Era, do you think they will follow Adam Cole into AEW?
I think Roderick Strong may. Kyle O'Reilly, man, I like Kyle O'Reilly, and they're really trying to get him over with the crowd, and the crowd likes Kyle O'Reilly. I like Kyle O'Reilly.
I'm a Kyle O'Reilly fan. We actually know him.
Yeah, I mean, he's young, he's talented, and out of the whole Undisputed Era, I mean, I feel bad for Bobby Fish, but Bobby Fish, I think, he's starting to, no matter how great he looks, I think he's starting to go to the tail end of his career. But Kyle O'Reilly is that one guy out of the Undisputed Era that they really could probably do the most still with. I mean, Adam Cole, I know a lot of people, are saying, and it's true, well, how does WWE let him go and this, that, but, when you look at NXT especially, like, who is he going to feud with? Like, it just feels he's done so much in NXT. Him leaving might have been the best thing for Adam Cole. But Kyle O'Reilly, though, if they could get him to that next level, there is so much that they could still do with this guy. And him just looking like the everyday guy, and him into, more of like, I don't want to say nerdy stuff. That's not right. But, he just seems like a guy that you would just hang out with in your house, play video games and just talk or whatever. Like, he just comes off as really down to earth. So I think Kyle O'Reilly sticks for a while. Roderick Strong, though, I mean, it just seems like on his own, forget the Diamond Mine people, but on his own, Roderick Strong, it just does not feel the same anymore. You know what it reminds me? It almost reminds me a little bit of Frankie Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian, AEW, now Christopher Daniels is pretty much retired. Here and there, he may have a match, but Frankie Kazarian, like, he goes out there and, he just shows up and they'll throw him in a match against someone, but it really feels like there's no direction. I think Roderick Strong, unfortunately, I would not be surprised within the next 6 months if he's gone.
Yeah.
But I think Kyle O'Reilly will stick around. His contract is not bloated. He's extremely talented, very likable guy, and no baggage either. He's not a problem. Like, he's just, seriously, what you see on the screen, the impression you get of him is really pretty much what people say he's like outside. He's not a troubled person. He's a guy that is great for the roster. So I think he does stay around.
Cool.
Yeah, we got to meet him once.
Okay. How's he?
Yeah.
What was he like?
They're all chill.
Yeah, they were super awesome.
Yeah.
They even gave us some things to bring home.
Well, you have a beagle and he has a beagle.
Yep.
Oh, very
He's got a
cool.
couple-
Very cool.
Yeah.
He comes off as a likable guy. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
of course, he's
We
got
took
to.
pictures with
Yeah. No, go ahead.
we took pictures with the whole squad there. They took us backstage.
Yeah, you got to go backstage.
Yeah.
That's cool. That is cool. See, I like guys like that just go the extra mile. I mean, it feels they come across like they're really appreciative and they show you, and they're not just going through the motions because they have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think Kyle O'Reilly's future in WWE is bright. You see everything else going on, and there's a lot of disarray. But I think especially with the changes to NXT, there'll be a lot less pressure, and give him more time to work on his character a little bit, because WWE is so character driven. But I think he'll be fine.
Oh, the dog's barking.
All right, well, I'll let you go. Great call. Thank you for calling in, and be
I have
well.
one last thing to say.
Sure, absolutely.
Don Tony rocks.
Thank you. Much love.
Oh, bye.
Take care. Be well. Yeah, you got to check out Lexi's LuckyRocks.com. You see the story behind it, and what she does. It's pretty special. It really is. So, all right, let's take another call. Good evening. You're on. Who's this?
Hey, DT, how you doing? It's Rain Entertainment.
Hey, what's going on?
Good, man. So I'm just going to make it short and sweet.
Sure.
Just one question.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like Triple H might have just one program left, maybe two, because I just feel like he's not going to be wrestling as often anymore.
Yeah.
So name me like two superstars in the WWE that you think that he could possibly go out on, or you'd like to see him like have his two final rivalries with. Because I don't know who on the active roster could give him like a meaningful rivalry, in my opinion.
Well, one I think might seem like a cop out, but I think I still remember their Saudi Arabia match from a couple of years ago, and they gave us 20 minutes of surprisingly top quality match. That's Randy Orton. I think Triple H, especially with the history with Evolution and Randy Orton being in that company as long as he has, I could see Triple H, if he wanted to have a retirement match, I could see him choosing Randy Orton. If you want to go a different route, if Kevin Owens ultimately stays in that company, or someone else who is a monster heel, I could see maybe Triple H trying to give a little bit extra rub to someone. Not passing a torch. I mean, I think it's too late to pass the torch, but maybe giving a nice rub to someone on the way out. Put it this way. They tried to do that with Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle, and that did not work. With Triple H, though, it could work with someone else. I don't think Kevin Owens needs Triple H's rub anymore, but maybe someone who has a little bit of an NXT connection. Man, if Keith Lee ended up being a monster heel, I could see Keith Lee putting Triple H in retirement. But I almost feel like the safer match might be Randy Orton, because Randy Orton doesn't have to do crazy moves. Randy Orton does not have to leave his feet. Randy Orton does not have to do dives and really risky stuff. There's so much psychology involved that I could see Randy Orton and Triple H doing it. I think that might end up being the safer way to go.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, much love. Have a great night. Great question.
You too, boss.
Be well. Yeah, I'm telling you, I think Keith Lee He was a monster heel, man. I think him just squashing Triple H, putting him into retirement, I think it could work. Absolutely think it could work. But I think Randy Orton is the safer bet. I'd feel that way. And look, that Saudi Arabia match, I remember recapping that pay-per-view, and that was the match that I enjoyed the most. And we've seen it so many times over the years. You know, I still remember when Randy Orton kissed Daphne when she was unconscious. Yeah, that storyline was not very good. But all right, let me open the phone line again. 833-366-8686 or 225-366-8669 if you want to call in. We're going to start bringing this home because remember, in less than 48 hours, I will be right back here. We'll do another show, and we'll have Rampage in the books. We'll have SmackDown in the books. We'll have the rating probably for both. So Saturday we'll have another show, and we'll do more calls probably. So Courtney's trying to call in. Maybe this is her. Hey, Your Honor, who's this?
Hey, Don Tony, this is Steve from Rockland County, New York.
Hey, Steve. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on?
All
right. I don't know. I haven't heard you talk too much about this yet, but starting next week, the new Dark Side of the Ring episodes start.
Yes.
Do you want to just go over this? It's going to be 7 new episodes, and I'm curious from you, what would be which episodes are you looking towards watching the most? Okay, so
yeah, give everybody the 7. I already know my choices, but let everybody know the 7 so they are aware of what's going to be on.
So you got it. So starting on the 16th next week, it's going to be the first episode is The Plane Ride from Hell. The following week, the 23rd, is going to be The Double Life of Chris Kanyon. On the 30th, it's The Blood and Wire, Onita FMW. And then October 7th, it's Bikers, Bombs, and Bedlam, Johnny K9. October 14th, it's Luna Vachon. October 21st, Extreme and Obscene, Rob Black's XPW. And the final one is the steroid trials on October 28th.
Is this the steroid trial of the early 90s, or is this Signature Pharmacy?
I'll just read you a quick blurb from it. In the mid-90s, wrestling was rocked by accusations of rampant steroid abuse. The star witness Hulk Hogan. Prosecutors set out to prove that Vince McMahon was the one responsible. That's what it says here.
Okay. Well, that was early 90s. I think it was 1993, but yeah, that's just, I'll tell you the truth. The Johnny K9 one, I really have no interest in. I mean, I know his biker past and, you know, what happened with jail and murder and everything. I think some people will find it interesting. For me, the other ones all sound very interesting. The Plane Ride from Hell, I want to see how many people they actually interview. But I will tell you, out of all of them, I know a lot of people to this day say, oh, DT, you should have been on the XPW one because of a lot of stories. But the problem is that what they're going to focus on with XPW is more of what they did in California. That's what, So I'm very interested in that one only because of, the involvement that I had for a little while when they were in the Northeast. But out of all of them, the one that I probably will look forward the most is Canyon. Because a lot of people.
Did you say Canyon?
Yeah, Canyon. Chris Canyon.
That is exactly my choice. Also, that's the one I'm actually looking forward to the most. Yes, you're very interesting. You said that. I really enjoyed that wrestler. The Mortis character. I love that guy. Yeah. I loved it.
I mean, I've talked about this before, and a lot of people that go back with me with the '90s, even when he was alive. I mean, this was a thing. I became friendly with him, not close friends, but I became friendly with him because back he was only 1 year difference from me. Back in the 80s, the rivalry in high school was St. Francis Prep, McClancy and Malloy. There was a big feud at that time. And one time, I don't remember if it was 85 or 86, but, they threatened to blow up the St. Francis Prep bus. And what would happen sometimes is there would be fights at Cunningham Park in Queens, New York. And, you know, you'd have people come from McClancy, from Malloy, from Prep, and they would have some fights. And then there was one time, I don't remember what year it was. It was definitely 85 or 86. I think it was 85. And there was supposed to be this gigantic brawl with like basketball players. Like, if anybody remembers the basketball player, Kenny Anderson was part of this too.
It was the Nets, are you talking about the Nets point guard?
Yes. Kenny Anderson.
Okay.
So
yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
They had this big get together at Cunningham Park, and everybody showed up. I was there, there's like 100 plus people there, and expected to have this big brawl amongst the three schools. And Chris Canyon was there and a bunch of others, and everybody ended up just hanging out, drinking and smoking weed. That's what it was. And yeah, I never hung out with him. I don't want to, you know, look, he's gone. I mean, you know, people could say anything and there's no way to prove it, but never got to hang out with him, but a lot of people became friendly because of the sports connection. But, you know, he lived, since you live in New York, I don't know if you ever heard of Sunnyside, Queens.
Of course. Yeah.
Sunnyside, Queens, for people that live outside of New York, if anybody remembers the infamous Elks Lodge where ECW used to have its shows, Sunnyside, Queens is only about 10 minutes away. And Canyon I used to live in Middle Village. Sunnyside is only about maybe 10, 15 minutes away also. And, you know, he was legendary in our area. And, you know, a lot of people knew that he was gay.
I was just about to ask you that. Maybe because I was too young when I was watching, and it never crossed my mind. I didn't get any type of vibe from him like that, you know? I don't know.
You know what it was and look, I'm not trying to cause any controversy here with everyone, but this is the thing. When I went to grammar school and I took the test to, you know, you pick 3 schools, you know, to see who you can make to get into it. And I chose Prep, McClancy, and Malloy. And I ended up choosing Prep because it was not an all-boys school. And a lot of people, the stereotype at that time is if you went to an all-boys school, you know, they thought that, you know, maybe you were not heterosexual, which was really dumb, but that was the idea. And then when you became friends with some people, and then, you know, you realized that some, you know, were gay, but it really never factored into anything at all. I mean, you know, on the women's side, Stella Maris High School, I think it was all girls, and a lot of girls would go to Stella Maris. I went to Prep because it was both, but you know, people knew he was gay, but you know, it's not like, oh my God, that's Chris Canyon, he's gay. Like, nobody cared.
Right.
You know, as dumb as this sounds, and yeah, I know this is going to piss some people off, but I'll just say it. You know, in the mentality of the 80s, and you're a teenager, you know, one of my closest friends to this day is gay. And the attitude we have was, as long as you don't grab my ass, I'm fine.
All right.
You know, he was a nice guy. Everybody that knew him had never had anything bad to say about him. Very, very quiet. Very quiet.
Right.
But that one I really want to see, because there's a lot of things about him that I always wanted to know, and hopefully we get the answers.
Yeah, definitely with you on that one. That was definitely my top pick. Yeah. And if you know, I'm also interested in as my like surprise one. I think the Luna Vachon one's going to be pretty good too. I'm really interested in her.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's it, Don Tony. Thanks for your time, man. Have a good one.
You too. All the best.
Thanks, man. Bye.
All right. Yeah, the Luna Vachon one's going to be good too. Especially, I think she's supposed to be a tow truck operator after wrestling. So, but man, you know, back then, you know, when Chris Canyon first made it to wrestling, because he was close with Bam Bam Bigelow. He wrestled in Jersey. That's why he did the triad. And here in the Northeast, you know, when he made it to WCW, I mean, a lot of people were very, very proud of the guy. You'd be surprised how quiet he was, though. Hey, you're on. Who's this?
Hi, this is Courtney, actually.
I mailed out your picture today.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
DP.
You're welcome. How's everything going?
Everything's going pretty good. I'm dealing with a back injury, so I'm on pain meds. So that's why I'm like, telling the chat, y'all don't want me to call in, trust me. And they're like, do it. I'm like, y'all are bad influences, by the way. I just wanted to call in and say that I appreciate you and the chat for the past few months. You know, everybody knows I've been through a lot of stuff, you know, the past few years. And just to have this safe space to where I can just talk about wrestling and not worry about people coming after me is just amazing. And I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to thank guys like Ken, Austin, Lee, Psycho, all of you guys in the chat. Y'all are amazing. I think of y'all as my little online DT family. And I just want to say I love all of y'all. And I also wanted to share an experience I had today, and it also relates to Daphne, ironically. I'm big into spirituality, and angel numbers are when you see like 222 on the clock, it means something. So I was watching a Daphne tribute video, and I looked up, and the time was 2:22. So I looked it up, what the angel number meaning is. And it basically was reaffirmation that I'm on the right path in life. And it was almost like, you know, I don't know what people believe in, but it was almost like Daphne was telling me, hey, you're on the right path. Don't worry. I'm okay. And that just, I feel like I'm over here getting chills, you know, retelling what, you know, happened, and actually emailed you the screenshot.
Yeah, I read it. I saw the screenshot too, what you showed me about the 222. I just, yesterday when I did Tuesday, I shouted you out, but I didn't talk about it in detail. But the 222 that you sent me that I read this morning, that, you know, I do believe in some of it. I'm still freaked out about that tile coming down. I mean,
I know. I was just thinking about you in that incident when I did it. I was like, maybe she's sending like her little, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I'm okay to us. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, look, like I said, with this channel, you know, I did audio only for 25 years, and, you know, it got very, you know, I don't want to say boring, but it just felt like it needed more. And the one thing that I really wanted when I came to video, and look, I think people realize it to this day that I sacrificed a lot of people who tuned in because I wanted this to be a place where everybody could have fun. You know, if you have different opinions, nobody's going to bash you for it. We're not going to sit here and crucify anybody or anything and try to look at the better thing times ahead, or, you know, look at things a little bit different. And for a lot of people, you know, the climate, and it's not just wrestling. I mean, I don't want to diss wrestling fans, but it's in politics. It's every day. Even if you walk to the store or anything else, there's this really bad climate out there that people just, you see all these dumb videos of somebody walking down the street, minding their own business, and then somebody just walks up right behind them and just punches them in the head, doesn't know them, just feels like decking someone. And it's just, that's the extreme. But for a lot of people out there, they just want to just go after anything. And that's something that I said, if I'm going to do this, because a lot of people are trying to get me not to do YouTube because they said, oh my God, you have no idea, the trolls, the climate. And I said, if I'm going to do this, I want this to be a fun place. It might get boring at times because it's, you know, more positive, but I love the vibe. And trust me, that's why, you know, it's not about, you know, having 100,000 people or 200,000 people. I just want it to be a place where everybody can hang out, get your mind off of all the other problems in the world, and just, you know, just chill. That's it. And, you know, with the Daphne stuff, like I said, it was crushing. I don't know if you tuned in to Saturday. I mentioned it briefly, but, you know, I got an email from her, and I got an email about a week before this all happened. I had no idea I'd even gotten it. And, you know, somebody had said to me last week, like, you feel guilty? And I'm like, honestly, no, because I don't think there's any one person that would have been able to save this situation. There was so many things, but, you know, the bottom line is, you know, what she was going through with the extreme loneliness and the CTE and just the sadness and the depression of not having anyone there physically and, you know, just health issues and a couple other things. I mean, to me, ending your life should never be the answer, period. You know, easier said than done when things are not going bad for someone. You know, I've said many years, you know, with my severe pain, if my doctor ever cut off my pain medication and I had to deal with the pain that I know that my body has, I probably would seriously think about doing something harmful. You know, if something happened, you know, to me where I couldn't even just, I understand why people, I'm going to throw a really outdated reference, but Dr. Kevorkian, people used to go to this doctor and he would end the lives of elderly and people who were very sick because they were suffering. You know, sometimes the suffering is just like, no more. And
yeah. And you know what? And people shouldn't feel guilty about it because, you know, in the end, things happen as they should. And, you know, and I don't want to say it like Daphne had to die for people to recognize this, but in Daphne's death, we began to realize that there are a lot of women in the professional wrestling industry who are struggling with, you know, unresolved trauma,
sure,
you know, CTE and everything like that. And I hope that if anything good can come out of this tragedy, it's that men in the professional wrestling industry start taking better care of the women and start listening to them when they speak up about something.
Absolutely.
And that's all I have for tonight. I love y'all, and I hope you have a good show.
Be well. How's Louisiana going?
Well, my house is good, but my other family, they all have damage. You know, I spent a little bit of time last week volunteering with a local organization, you know, helping out where I could. And, you know, and through that volunteering, I noticed something, you know, like that's why I can't get mad about wrestling anymore after this week. Cause I'm like, I'm not going to gripe about a booking decision when there are people, you know, who you know, have lost everything.
Yeah.
So I just enjoy what, you know, good wrestling provides, and it's providing a lot, and it's providing a lot of an escape from me right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful for that, and I just wish that other fans would follow suit.
Absolutely. Much love, Courtney. Be well.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye. I want to share a little story with everybody out there, and yeah, I'm gonna mention the Conan drive again. I'm going to mention it in a different way. If anybody thinks that I'm lying, you could do a Google search and you'll still see the articles. You know, one of the reasons also why I care so much about everybody who tunes in, you know, I mean, a lot of you already know, you know, that my past, I had a horrible car accident, bad marriage, kind of hit rock bottom, but, you know, listening to wrestling hotlines and then starting my own was my escape. So even though everybody likes to say that, you know, I helped them with their escape a little bit, you helped me too. True story. A lot of you may not know this. You do know that when Conan needed a kidney transplant, myself and Georgianne Macropolis ran the donation drive to raise the money for his surgery. One of my listeners to my hotline at the time donated his kidney to Conan, Chad Broadwater. And I'm still friends with him on my Facebook to this day, even though we haven't talked for years. All right. When someone calls your hotline and is so moved by what Georgianne and I were doing that he decides he's going to give his kidney to Conan, that moves you. But there was something else. There is a woman by the name of Crystal. I don't want to give her last name, but she lived in California and she was a wrestling fan. I haven't talked to her in years. And she saw what we were doing for the Drive for Conan. She saw this guy, Chad, donate his kidney to Conan. And she was so moved by what Georgie and I were doing that she gave her kidney to a stranger who was in desperate need of a kidney transplant, who was going to die. If you do a Google search, you just search her name, just search Crystal with a K, my name, and Conan, and you'll see the articles come up. She's probably maybe 25 years old at the time, and she gave her kidney to a complete stranger. When I read the article, she's saying that it was what we were doing for Conan that made her decide that she was going to give a kidney to help someone else, save their life. I don't take credit for that. My point is, do you see the domino effect that happens? One person does something kind for another person. That person does something kind for this person. Someone else watching decides they're going to do something. This person does this. That's why, look, even with the contest here, Crazy Cruiserweight that pops in once in a while. You know, another friend of our show, AS7607, she went through a horrible 2021 as well. COVID, family members, cousin lost to suicide 2 years ago, you know, and they don't know each other. And Cruiserweight wins a $200-something contest here. He said, give it to her. I mean, tell me any other podcast out there that has good people like that. Seriously, I'm not trying to kiss ass right now. Tell me any other podcast out there that has people, wonderful people like that. It's so toxic to see what goes on other areas. And unfortunately, everyone, and let's be honest, unfortunately, the great fun nature that we have over here, that is not the most popular thing right now. The most popular thing right now is to yell and curse, and you can't just like AEW. You can't just be ecstatic about their ratings. You can't just be proud and loud that they have all this great stuff going on. No, people have to add fuck WWE in the process. Instead of just, wow, awesome time to be a wrestling fan. AEW turning up a notch, signed all these people. Wow, awesome time to be a wrestling fan. WWE may not be as good right now, but WWE still has Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and Bobby Lashley and this, AJ Styles and this and that. No, it's, if you like AEW, you get brownie points for that. But if you like AEW and also do this to WWE, then you are a made person. And that is disgusting. And that is sad, and it's pathetic. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with friendly competition, but people out there, when you heard what happened to Triple H yesterday, I mean, even Triple H having the heart procedure last week, and some people, look, they didn't do their research. They made a mistake. They put heart attack. They were wrong. Okay, that you could forgive them. But even with that, people had to intentionally lie and intentionally blame this, say this, that is, all to get attention on themselves. Even with a guy that had a fucking heart procedure, they still couldn't resist. And then you got the sick people out there who will call the other people out, but they're just calling the other people out so they could get the attention like, yeah. I get people all the time, like somebody yesterday. Oh, what do you think about Mick Foley? Mick Foley's getting eaten alive out there because Mick Foley is throwing shade to WWE. And I literally laughed. I didn't laugh yesterday in the show, but I literally laughed when somebody wrote that to me yesterday, earlier in the day. You know why? Because most of the people that are calling out Mick Foley and calling him a hypocrite for putting down WWE, they are putting down WWE themselves. Like, I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. Period. Doesn't have to agree with it, but again, that climate right now, and it's not just wrestling. Please, I know a lot of people like to say that, oh my God, wrestling is so toxic right now, and these people are just wacko. You see the guy, AEW Botches, at AEW Botches? You all know the story, that he claimed that people were putting his personal information public and doxing him and this and that. And, you know, I was skeptical because I know people out there who like to be assholes online will then claim victim that somebody threatened to do something terrible to them or their family to get sympathy on themselves, to take away the fact that they're just being assholes online. I did shows with people like that. You know, I'll say it now. That kid Joey, I feel bad for him. He was prone to a wheelchair, but he would act like the biggest asshole towards me. And then when I would fire back, how could you talk to someone like that in a wheelchair? I'm like, fuck you. You know, you want to stand up to me, not literally, but you want to stand up to me and be an asshole. Then when you get it back and then you hide behind the wheelchair, no sympathy from me. That's the truth. It's cold, but that's the truth. So this guy, AEW Botches, I saw what was going on. I've been on the net since 93. I've seen everybody out there who truly were victims, who truly lied, who cried wolf and this and that. And I said, you know what? I don't know if this guy's telling the truth or not, but I'm going to help him anyway, because maybe he doesn't understand. You could file, you know, the cyber crime complaint. Threatening to put a little kid's information public is a serious crime online. So I filed 2 complaints for the guy, and I have the proof, and I posted screenshots. And do you know, to this day, he hasn't tweeted once. And some people out there were like, well, DT, maybe the FBI seized his account. Here's the problem with that. He claims he got an email, not a Twitter DM. Guy has not tweeted since, because what I wrote at that time, I said, if someone is threatening to dox his family information, whoever is threatening him is going to have a big problem. But if this guy, AEW Botches, is lying, he's going to have a big problem. I don't know what the truth is. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that he lied or didn't lie. But I will say this. To this day, I never got a thank you. Never got from him, hey, man, could you give me the case number? This way I could follow up with here. Or, hey, man, how did you do this? Or, you know, thank you for, you know, looking out for me, you know, even though you didn't need to do that. You don't know me for nothing. Zero. If somebody threatens to put my mom, my dad, my fiance's info public, if we had a child, and then somebody steps up and files criminal complaints for me to try to get that person, the first thing I do is say, oh my God, thank you. Zero. I don't need a thank you, but you see where I'm going with this? It's not just wrestling. It's just everyday life. You know, you need to pick yourself up. Oh, I'll just lie and say I saved the world. Or I could just curse this person out, hate this, hate that. That's why I don't follow politics anymore. That's why I just try to enjoy wrestling. I said a month and a half ago, the remaining of 2021 is arguably going to be one of the greatest 5-6 month periods that we ever had as being a wrestling fan. AEW is doing great right now. Period. Why throw WWE under the bus as well? Why? You know, when people, if you're that proud of AEW, you don't need to manipulate things or twist it or this and that. You know, AEW is not the number one watched AEW is not the number one watched wrestling. I said it again. AEW is not the number one show watched on Wednesday night. But they take the 18 to 34 and then they'll use that. But the title says most watched show on cable. Period. That's not technically accurate. but people got it twisted and this and that. They got to leave the demo part out, or it'll be in the third paragraph. Like I said earlier, I was reading a press release from WWE from 2006, and in the title, they talked about being number one in they said the 18 to 34 male demographic. You know what the article was from WWE? This is from 2006 with an exclamation point. WWE has something advertisers want. The 18 to 34 demographic, and the proof is in the ratings. Men ages 18 to 34, represent 25% of WWE's adult viewership among Raw, SmackDown, and ECW, which represents a greater percentage of 18 to 34-year-olds found in such highly rated shows as CSI, Lost, 24, Grey's Anatomy, and Fear Factor. Monday Night Raw is consistently the highest regularly scheduled program on ad-supported cable amongst men 18 to 34. Not surprising, as Raw is also consistently the most watched, regularly scheduled, year-round program on ad-supported TV. And they go on and on and on, and they're breaking it down. But they tell you right from the beginning, demos. Other people got to manipulate it and twist it and this and that and use it to, right now, everyone, I am the hottest, sexiest Italian white guy between the ages of 45 and 55 that lives on my block. I'm the only Italian guy between the ages of 45 and 55 living on my block. So, anyway, I'm going to jet out of here. But before I do, for the last 15 minutes, if you want to sit back, relax, and hear a little vintage Don Tony from 2010, I think you'll enjoy it. For those who have heard it before, I know you'll enjoy it again. For those that have not, remember what I said earlier about Dixie Carter. One of her biggest mistakes, period, was to try to pull the underdog thing with WWE. And she used David and Goliath, and no one online would confront her about it. They would just go along with it because they wanted, just like what people are doing now with AEW and Tony Khan. I mean, it's just, there's got to be people out there that just stand up and compliment someone, but you bring up their faults when needed. And as of right now, I am happy to say that it seems like Tony Khan is not going to duplicate the problems that Dixie Carter did have. So far, it looks like Tony Khan is really, Tony Khan has got, whether you like QT Marshall or not, Omega, Young Bucks, Jericho, other people, trust me, Mark Henry, Big Paul White, they're all giving a lot of input behind the scenes to Tony Khan. He's not just there and everybody's like, yes, sir. Yes, Tony. Yes, sir. Yes, no. They're trying to help him as well. It seems right now, Tony Khan is not perfect, but it seems right now that he is not going to duplicate the same mistakes of Dixie Carter. But I want to flash back to 2010 just to remind everyone where Dixie Carter truly screwed up. And this way, we keep in the back of our mind, make sure that Tony Khan doesn't do the same. And if he starts to, people call him out on it. Because if you call him out on it, then he has time to fix the problem. But here you go. We're going to close out with this. So the live Don Tony will keep quiet for the rest of the show. And join me Saturday night. If you're going to jet out now, join me Saturday night for your next show. And 8 p.m. Eastern is the start. And on the way out, don't forget to hit that like button. But for now, let's do this. There we go. Father Tony, my sermon. This is a clip from Breakfast with Blassie, March 17th, which was St. Patrick's Day. And that will come into play during this. Now, I will let everybody know one more thing. What you're about to hear, I just went on the fly. I read passages from the Bible That is the only notes I had from me. So whatever was coming out of my mind about Dixie Carter and everything else, it was just on the fly. The church sound effects, Mish, added in later on. All right, I just want to make that clear. And this is not a religious, you'll see where I'm going with it. So enjoy. Hang on. Where are you? Here we are. Enjoy.
Hey, Brian Lee.
Oh, that's not it. Oh, here it is. Okay, good.
Please be seated.
Please be seated.
That's Mish.
Today's reading comes from the book of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle Show. This sermon will be brought to you by Father de Blasio.
We are about to fundamentally change the way Dixie Carter views TNA versus WWE. Now, I've already deleted the words that she said earlier tonight on her Twitter. One stone will not take down this Goliath. Oh, how I had no idea that the wrestling world was filled with atheists. You would have thought that someone may have gone to CCD when they were back in the day and learned the story of David versus Goliath. You would have thought that they would have went back to the Bible and looked up 1 Samuel 17 and tried to understand when people say David versus Goliath. You know what? Maybe Dixie Carter, since she comes from down south, since apparently her house is all surrounded by trees and plants and garden products. Maybe she had some tainted beans. Maybe she is misconstruing David and Goliath with Jack and the Beanstalk. You know what? Dixie, you are forgiven. She is really trying to talk about Jack and the Beanstalk. She is Jack and WWE is the Beanstalk. And unfortunately, we will now give Jack a last name. Dixie, Jack's last name is Shit. You are Jack Shit. And WWE is the Beanstalk. Because it certainly can't be David versus Goliath. You cannot portray yourself as David battling the giant. So what I did tonight, people, was I went back into the Bible. And I looked to read the true story of David versus Goliath. The true Hollywood story of David versus Goliath. To try to get the record straight, because I always thought David was the underdog. David was the shrimp. David was the small little munchkin in a donuts world. I never knew David was a giant, so I started reading the story, and I am giving everybody right now a biblical lesson. If you don't like it, you could go fuck your atheist self and go do something else. When things start to not make sense about Dixie Carter's repetitive claims of David versus Goliath, remember, David versus Goliath. We know we're David. We know they're Goliath. But David overcame Goliath, and we will do the same. Now, let's read the story, shall we? The Philistine army had gathered for war against Israel. The two armies faced each other, camped for battle on opposite sides of a steep valley. A Philistine giant, measuring over 9 feet tall and wearing full armor, came out once each day for 40 days. Mocking and challenging the Israelites to fight. His name was Goliath. Now, let's read that again, but let's use wrestling terms so we can follow the story. A giant measuring over 9 feet tall, wearing full armor, came out mocking and challenging the Israelites to fight. Now, not for nothing, I don't recall WWE mocking TNA, challenging TNA. I don't remember them anything recently doing anything to TNA. So if we follow the story so far, Goliath is the scumbag. Goliath is the prick that's mocking the Israelites. I don't see WWE doing that to TNA. Any of you out there see that? So right now, Goliath is being a dick in the Bible, but WWE is not being a dick towards TNA. So let's move on. His name is Goliath, Saul, the king of Israel, and the whole army was terrified of Goliath. So we will use wrestling terms. The cast members are afraid of WWE. One day, David, we'll call him Dixie, David, the youngest son of Jesse, was sent to the battle lines by his father to bring back news of his brothers. David was probably just a teenager at the time. While there, David heard Goliath shouting his daily defiance and saw that the great fear stirred within the men of Israel. So if we go back to wrestling, TNA heard WWE shouting their daily defiance and saw great fear. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of God? So if we follow the story so far, WWE is mocking. WWE is cursing. WWE is screaming, threatening. And TNA is scared. And Dixie Carter stands up and says, who is this uncircumcised Vince McMahon that should defy the armies of God? I'm sorry, I don't see WWE or Vince McMahon. I don't think he is uncircumcised, but I don't see them doing this to anybody at TNA. So, if anything, don't you think so far that if you look at wrestling, David is the one trying to pick a fight with Goliath? That's not how the story was told, people. David didn't come out and say, you know what, let me fuck with Goliath. Let me scream at Goliath. Let me taunt Goliath. And I'm going to show him who's fucking boss. So far, it's Goliath that's the prick. And David is trying to stand up for the people that are scared. I'm sorry, WWE has not done that to TNA. So who is Dixie Carter really standing up to? David said to the Philistine. Now, hopefully Philistine is pronounced the right way. I don't want to have a Barack Obama corpse spin moment, but, well, I think I'm right. David said to Philistine. Dixie David said to Philistine. Dixie David said to Philistine Vince, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, who you have defied. Today I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds of the air, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. It is not by sword or spear, but the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. The longest sentence in the history of the Bible, people. Need a breather. Now, I'm sorry. If Dixie Carter said that to Vince McMahon, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin. You know what Vince would say? What the fuck you talking about? I don't care about your product. Go away, David. Go read comic books. Anyway, as Goliath moved in for the kill, David reached into his bag and slung out one of his stones at Goliath's head. Finding a hole in the armor, the stone sank into the giant's forehead, and he fell down on the ground. David took Goliath's sword, killing Goliath and then cutting off his head. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. So the Israelites pursued, chasing and killing them and plundering their camp. So now if you follow this story, Goliath came out to play. And David said, we ain't having any of this shit. And David, on behalf of TNA, killed Goliath. And then all of WWE's universe ran away, and TNA killed them all too. You know what? So far this story, Goliath was the prick. Goliath paid the price. I don't see Vince McMahon fucking with TNA. I don't see him provoking shit with TNA. So if you follow the story, as Dixie Carter keeps saying, David versus Goliath, Dixie, what the fuck are you talking about? So far, this story has nothing to do with what's happening in the wrestling world. She could talk a good game, people, but if Don Tony de Blasio could, at 1 o'clock in the morning, just take her whole David and Goliath claim and literally shred it so badly that everything that she's saying about David Goliath makes no sense. If I could do that, could you imagine how much disarray? Spike TV, are you taking note of who you have running TNA? You know, but then again, yeah, Spike TV, we got Pop. I mean, Spike TV is notorious of being stupid too. But anyway, here's the retrospect, people, for the people that want the moral of the story. Why did they wait 40 days to begin the battle? Probably for several reasons. Everyone was afraid of Goliath. Goliath seemed invincible. Not even King Saul, the tallest man in Israel, had stepped out to fight Goliath. Also, the sides of the valley were very steep. Whoever made the first move would have a strong disadvantage and probably suffer great loss. Both sides were waiting for the other to attack first. David chose not to wear the armor because it felt David was comfortable with a single slingshot, a weapon he was skilled at using. God will use the unique skills he has already placed in your hands. So don't worry about wearing the king's armor. Just be yourself. Use the gifts and the talents God has given you. Everybody out there, you're listening. Be yourself. Use the gifts and the talents that the Almighty God has given you. This is Don Tony telling you this. He will work miracles through you. David's faith in God caused him to look at the giant from a different perspective. Goliath was merely a mortal man defying an all-powerful God. David looked at the battle from God's point of view. If we look at giant problems and impossible situations from God's perspective, we realize that God will fight for us and will be with us. When we put things in proper perspective, we see more clearly and we can fight more efficiently. That last sentence is the quintessential reason why Dixie Carter is an idiot. Because, as it says, and again, when we put things in proper perspective, we see more clearly and we can fight more efficiently. So far, the entire story of David versus Goliath and why David beat Goliath is the complete opposite of what Dixie Carter is saying. Goliath was the scumbag. Goliath was the prick. Goliath was taunting everybody. Come get me, motherfucker. Everybody was scared. Little David said,
"You ain't scared me, motherfucker."
And he killed him. He killed him. Goliath was the bully. Goliath's the bully from the football team in freshman year. And David was the little nerd. And Goliath kept taunting the nerd. You remember Meatballs, the little kid? Nobody wanted to play with him. He was being taunted. He was being bothered by everyone. And Bill Murray was like the Almighty God. And Bill Murray convinced him, don't go home. Use your skills. Use everything that you are good at and you will prosper and you will beat the almighty person. And that's what he did. He ran. And he ran fast. And he ran long. And he ended up winning. And Meatballs went off the air on a very happy note. And in kind of retrospect, I think the kid should have lost. Then we wouldn't have had Meatballs 2, which absolutely sucked. But again, people, we got over 1 million downloads in 2009. Everybody that listens to the show, I always tell you, if you enjoy the show, keep spreading the word. If you enjoy what we do, write it on Twitter, write it on Facebook, tell other people about it, promote it, do everything you possibly can. Everything I just said, fuck it, put it aside. If there's anything you could do right now to make me feel good, if you agree, look, and if you disagree, don't be afraid. I respect it. But if you agree with what I just said, that every time Dixie Carter says David versus Goliath and trying to portray it, I want somebody out there to tell her, Dixie, with all due respect, you are an idiot. Listen to the Breakfast with Blassie episode from March 17th. Is it St. Patrick's Day now, people? You know what? I'm in the mood for some fucking corned beef. But it takes 3 hours to make. You know, I don't understand that. Corned beef and cat. I bought corned beef and I was like, oh, I'm going to make it tonight. Then I realized I got to boil it for 3 hours? Like that. I'll buy the cold cut. But seriously, I want you to tell her with all due respect, what are you talking about? David versus Goliath. Goliath was the scumbag. Goliath was intimidating everyone. David came out to play and got rid of Goliath. Vince McMahon ain't taunted TNA. WWE is not fucking with TNA. WWE is ignoring TNA. I'm sorry. I don't recall reading that story and hearing that Goliath was ignoring everybody. The big bad Goliath was ignoring everybody. David versus Goliath makes no sense with what Dixie Carter and TNA is saying. She either is an absolute idiot or she just... No. I'm sorry. There is no option 2. You are an idiot. And you know what? Dixie, here's a challenge for you. Get off your high horse, put down the champagne and donuts, have some balls. Tell me how the David versus Goliath story makes sense with the way you're portraying it. WWE is ignoring you. You're picking the fight. Look at it like this, people. If you take that story and you put it towards TNA, you know what the story is? What's actually happening? Both sides don't like each other. And you know what? Goliath is the biggest, baddest man on the planet. And Goliath is basically proud that he's the biggest, baddest man on the planet. But he's not saying it. He's not doing anything. He's not provoking it. He's just hanging out at home, chilling, not doing nothing. And David comes out and says,
Hey, Goliath, you pussy, come out to play.
Goliath don't want none of that. David comes out again.
Notice me, bitch. Come out. Let's fight. Come on.
And Goliath is saying, look, I don't want nothing to do with you. Why are you provoking this fight? And David's like,
listen, motherfucker.
Splat. Done. Over with. Goliath comes out, steps on him. End of the story. Done. Eleven and a half years ago. Let's hope Tony Khan does not make the same mistakes Dixie did. Yeah, that was something that a lot of people remember from back in the day. So, you know, it was good. I loved Mish putting the organ music and the coughing and the little baby sounds in the background. But yeah, that was from back then. You know, I mentioned NXT's rating earlier because it went down over 100,000 viewers from the week before, and we broke it down very well. Yesterday we talked about AEW, and I said the rating yesterday, I said should get about 1.3 million. I think I said 1,310,000. It ended up being 1,319,000. Missed it by that much. Again, 1.3 million is a very good number. If it drops down some weeks to 950, 1,000,001, 1 million, 1,000,002, 1,000,004, 975, it's going to fluctuate. It's going to fluctuate. Right now, you have, you know, a lot of anticipation, a lot of fantasy matches that will ultimately be delivered. We also got to remember that there is a whole roster in AEW that also needs to be used. So yesterday, like I said, the non-wrestling segments were great. The wrestling itself, you know, much to be desired, I think it's fair to say. Tomorrow, Rampage sounds like a pretty solid show. I think Rampage tomorrow, no reason why they can't get like 820,000 viewers. Realistically, I think they might be more around 760, 770. That's people got to lay off on these crazy ass numbers. At the end of the day, you know, just enjoy that AEW has got a little momentum right now, that Tony Khan is spending the money to bring in some names that he knows their core audience wants to see. Maybe you get some new viewers in the process. But Tony Khan has got to worry about keeping his current viewers happy. And trust me, you know, I always use the phrase that misery loves company. You'll have people that'll post the most negative title on a YouTube video and it'll get the most views. A negative title attracts people in. For Tony Khan, the opposite happens as well. You see momentum and you hear all your friends, wow, AEW was awesome yesterday. All right, you don't pay much attention to it. And then the next week, oh my God, AEW was great last night. Then another week goes by. AEW did a pretty good show today. After a while, some people that are not watching, you know what, let me go check it out. Let me see what it's all about. So Tony Khan has got to keep his fans happy. And in the process, if, you know, it keeps going well, other fans will ultimately tune in. There's too much positive noise. But you don't need to bring down WWE. That's the mistake that I made when I started doing podcasts in the mid-2000s. Somebody said to me back then, DT, have people tune into your show because your show is good, not because other people's shows were bad. I used to make fun of every other show out there. I would call them out by name, In Your Head and all these others. And then, you know, after a while, it got old. I mean, we did all these spoofs. Mish did these beautiful promos, making fun of these shows. After a while, it got old. And trust me, this will get old also. Have people tune in because your product is good, not because someone else's product is bad. AEW fans got a great product right now, and they should focus on what's great about with AEW, not what's bad with WWE. The Adam Cole thing, I don't care if the rumors are true that they were gonna change his name and have him manage Keith Lee. The bottom line is Adam Cole in NXT, there was almost nothing left for the guy. What was he going to do? Feud with Pete Dunne? And then people are like, why is he feuding with Pete Dunne? I mean, you think about Adam Cole's NXT career, he did it all. If he's not going to the main roster and he wants a part-time schedule and he wants to be able to go on Twitch because that is very therapeutic for him, then going to AEW is the right choice. Not leaving WWE was the right choice. Going to AEW, there's a big difference there, and a lot of people don't focus on that. So, anyway, with that said, Soulfly Bamore asked me earlier, and I'd be disrespectful if I didn't answer because he super chatted me too. I don't know about the Super Bowl yet. I'm just starting to, get into like the football frame of mind. I'm gonna start paying attention a little bit more. Last 2 years, I really just was not happy with football. But you give me about a week or two, and I'll give you my Super Bowl prediction. So, but anyway, everyone, it's been real. Fun show, great calls, loved them all. And if you're around Saturday night for a little while, 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll hang out, talk about whatever breaks between now and then. We'll talk Rampage, we'll talk SmackDown, any other news. Hopefully I'll get some other questions answered that you all asked over the last couple of days. And we'll see how everything goes. So everyone, much love. Thank you for the kind words, as always. On the way out, I'd appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up. That helps quite a bit. Like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let other people know about the channel. Try to give a little bit different with every show. It's going to take another half a year or a year to really get the shows exactly where we want them as far as what we're focusing on. But I think we're in the right direction. And as long as everybody who supports me is having a great time, couldn't ask for anything more. So everyone, be well. Much love. I'll catch you all again Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. So good night, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.